Welcome to my diary. I'm Tatami, where I talk about whatever I want to, and today I'm going to continue the conversation about my full opinion about bland Mayo families who adopt transracially to add some spice to their Mayo lives. Last time I talked about this, I had a lot of silent haters. They hit the dislike button and left without explaining exactly what their beef was, which is funny. But I suppose you need to have somebody who actually rehomed, as they put it, their adopted child, rehomed them because they could not shuck and jive on YouTube quite sufficiently enough as a toddler. Perhaps that's the type of information that people need to take this seriously. Perhaps you can't see clear abuse and violations of the power structure in a family before this occurs. But it's interesting that people are seeing it now. It's interesting that people are seeing it now fully because this family gave up on their adopted child at about 4 years old, about 3 years deep into the relationship, because this child, it appears, for all intents and purposes, did not have the personality they expected. I think they projected Asian stereotypes onto this little boy and wanted him to be a quiet, studious type. When, honey, if you've ever been friends with an Asian person, they some of the wildest friends you will ever have. Like, that stereotype needs to go. It was clearly just something that white people assumed from their culture. I think their respectful cultural norms, and we've all just blanket put on people. So when the second this woman said, I expected him to be shy, quiet, why did you expect a 1-year-old child to be quiet and shy, especially when they start to trust you and love you? Why did you think that? But so, see, that's the type of shit people don't want to see. That's the type of shit people will get angry at you for seeing as a red flag. Because they will project a personality onto children they never met. And now, see, that's a white people habit. I'll just say that right there. They have a habit of projecting narratives onto people, typically based in stereotypes and information that does not apply to this individual, probably in any capacity. They will do it to you as a grown person anywhere. If you do not give them a narrative, they will make one up for you, and it will be dangerous. And their lives are somehow in danger. And that's how that whole thing gets going about my life is in danger. And this is the type of thing that I think we let slide with people who adopt. Well, most people who adopt automatically get labeled like a hero. But people who transracially adopt, often, they don't want to hear it. Nobody wants to hear this shit. They often are basing their decision on what type of child to adopt. First off, based on the amount of clout that they want to get, but, also based on their stereotypes about what that type of person will be like. So they thought this kid was going to be some type of stereotype. He wasn't. Turns out he was a bit of a fireball, and he has autism, or may have autism. He has some part of his brain is missing. Y'all, all the information I have is secondhand because I did not want to give these fuckers a view. Fuck you. I see how much money you made. I see how many views you have for this child. They adopt y'all for the money. They adopt you, and they did this before social media, so nobody fucking say this is about social media, because they did this back when all you could get was kudos at church. They were out here doing this shit for kudos at church. Better believe it. Better believe it. Check Utah. Oh, all the people of color in Utah are adopted by these psychos. Second, yes, he had autism. Is, I believe, they feel they don't have the resources, the capabilities. Basically, y'all, what happened is this little autistic child of color could not shuck and jive the way their children were able to shuck and jive in front of the camera. But they would never have given up one of those little, blonde kids for being born autistic. They would have managed. I'll say that. My adoptive parents did so much wrong. My adoptive father sexually abused me. My adoptive mother could not handle it correctly and began to emotionally abuse me throughout my teenage years. But I will say this, that woman sent me to a boarding school. She sent me to therapeutic boarding school in Utah, where they're legally allowed to restrain you for no fucking reason. But we'll get into that later. But I'll say they didn't treat me right at that therapeutic boarding school, but she had at least enough ego and sense not to give me up. She knew how shitty that would make her as a person. She knew. She didn't keep me for all those years just to give up when the going was tough. And all these people's eyes on her, she was just prominent in the community. And she wouldn't do that for knowing what kind of shit person it would make her to give up on an adopted child, especially a transracially adopted child. But these people had no shame. They went ahead and documented from day one, clearly trying to get attention from day one about adopting this damn child, knowing he had some sort of disability, knowing. But they're like, oh, it was just a little more than we thought it was. It's always a little more than you thought it was. Why? Because nobody ever fucking thinks about the fact that for the adoptee, you start from a greater place of loss than anybody else in that fucking situation. Anybody else. It doesn't matter if you're the birth mother, birth father, adoptive mother, adoptive father, auntie, uncle, best friend. The adoptee who is transplanted from the world they know to your world at the drop of your pen to make a signature, to drop some cash, their life has the most loss out of everybody. They have to learn the new language. They have to learn the new culture. They have to learn the new norms. And it doesn't matter if you've just transplanted them 50 miles here in the US of A. They have to change all of that. They're not going to the same school. They no longer know the same people. They no longer have the same friends, aunts, uncles who they're able to run to in times that they need them. I remember being a very small, maybe 4 years old, 3 years old, and having consistent memories of running into a back room to somebody. I don't know who the fuck they were. I can't remember that anymore. I can remember some things about them. I remember they smoked cigarettes and the room was clouded, but that comforted me because that person was there. And that's one of the few memories I have of that time in my life prior to adoption. But they don't think about that. They think now your cup is full. We fed it. We filled it. And now you are here to accept whatever crumbs we give you. And if you do not shuck and jive appropriately when we snap our fingers, there's going to be a problem. There's a problem for my twin brother. He couldn't do it. He had issues. He had some issues because it was a lot. But people expect you to have no issues. They expect you to just be grateful. They expect you to eat those damn crumbs. And then if you have the audacity to be worse than they expected. I mean, my twin brother, he was sent to boarding school a lot earlier than I was. I was sent when I was 16, maybe a couple months after. 15, 16? Don't make me do math. He was sent when we were like 9, 10, 12. He was sent a bunch of times. He could never make it. He could just never make it. He never had opportunities. Now he's wonderful, y'all. He has careers. He is successful. He is everything they said he would not be. He's accomplished. He's everything they said he would not be. Everything they spat in his face as a little kid. This is showing me that you're going to be a delinquent. This is showing me you're going to be a honey, not close. He showed everybody. I wonder if all of them have ever called him up and just been like, oops, my bad for speaking all that shit on you as a child. But they didn't. And the thing is like, it's shocking to me that people are here condoning people taking kids who could turn out like my twin brother or turn out like me, who just silently took a bunch of abuse until I was a little older. Is that better? If that's better to people, that's what they prefer, honey. That's what they prefer. That's what they act like they want. They would prefer if this kid just didn't act like he had part of his brain missing. They'd prefer if he just didn't act like he was autistic. They'd prefer if he just act white. Act like you want to be here. Act like you want to know the language. Act like you want to know the culture. Act like we gave you something and you're grateful for it. Act like this, act like that. But they never make the fucking effort. You have to be like practically a grown transracial adoptee, well into your preteens, teens, etc., before you can first off get up the nerve to verbalize that you'd like to learn about your culture. And honey, it don't matter. Sometimes it don't even matter if you're white. I've said this before. I've heard of a Russian adoptee whose mother took offense, American mother took offense that he wanted to go to Russia and learn something about Russia. Y'all, white people are erasing their own culture a lot of the time, sticking to this white American bullshit. It's sad. It's sad that he got mocked, but that shit happens. They take offense, and you have to be pretty much of age, often rebelling to get to any of this, because they don't ever think of it. They don't put you in none of these classes. They don't find any way to make you more comfortable. And that's the sad part, is this woman, Myka, Stauffer, is that her name? I just saw it, y'all. I keep forgetting how to say it. When I look at it, it says Stauffer, like the food. Stauffer is rich. Like I said, she made shit tons of money off of those videos about her son. And what's funny is she made I know she made enough money off of those videos alone to pay for whatever his therapy would have needed to be, to pay for somebody to be his full-time nanny, to pay for somebody to always be there, to play the part of the most dedicated mother on her YouTube channel that you have ever fucking seen. Shown people like me that we don't know what we are talking about, because she is so dedicated. She treats this child like any of her children that she carried in her womb and birthed out of her body. She resented this child though, y'all, didn't she? She resented this child because he couldn't shuck and jive in front of the camera. And therefore, she rehomed him like an animal. Like you would a random kid that you invited in off the streets, but, you know, he started stealing petty change, so you threw him out again. Rehomed. Gone. I wonder what he's up to, they think, years later. Fuck these people, dude. They had so many resources. That's why I'm saying, like, there are resources. The fact that y'all made enough money purely off of those videos of him alone, hundreds of thousands of subscribers, so many sponsors. That's just YouTube. That's not whatever one of them does for an actual living. It's sick. It's disgusting. But it's happening at a microcosm all over the fucking country. That's what I want to say. That's what I want to influence everybody to understand. Change your brain thinking. When you see adoptive people or people thinking about adoption, and look at their behavior. Like, there's just such a weird amount of language that condones this. For example, sales on adoption. Agencies do this. People on Facebook who are meaningfully tracking down people and advertising on Facebook so they can, like, go around the system. I've seen this. They're just trying to adopt a kid, find a teen mom who's vulnerable and, like, take her kid. These are the types of things I'm talking about. These people are crazy. They are thinking of themselves a lot of the time. But because everybody's just like, oh, nobody wants adoptees, so we just applaud and don't really check these people who are just out here looking to adopt. It's gross. They're often just using their kid for kudos, for clout, for money, in this case and in the other case, I don't remember what her name was. She was selling some kind of hair cream for all types of hair because she adopted some black kids. And I'm like, funny. First, it was you learning how to do black hair and showing people how you learn to do both black hair and your daughter's hair. Now you're suddenly the hair expert, taking up space on the, ethnic hair aisle with your branding that looks like you're clearly marketing towards natural hair. It just feels funny. It feels gross. It doesn't feel right to watch these people specifically go after children of color, specifically go after communities abroad who are struggling financially. Like, if you really cared about these kids, wouldn't you just like sponsor their families and, sponsor kids, you know what I mean? Sponsor their adoption, sponsor this or that, sponsor them to stay within their homes if it's poverty that's leading them to be kept out of their homes. Like, wouldn't you be focused on that? But instead you steal other people's community members as an asset to yourself, as a pet. And it's so wrong. It makes me sad looking at him because I'm like, I get little kids in front of me and y'all, I just want to hug and kiss them usually. Like, it's a rare kid for me to be annoyed with them, and it's 0 kids in my life that I would ever put out on the street that I promised that I would adopt and love forever and treat as my own. Even in the hardest times, you think about those good times and you're able to love your child. And it's mind-boggling to me that this person who did all this online did not have the damn sense to just keep going. They started to resent that child to the point that even the child, they're saying, wanted to go. They think that's a good detail to add, that their child themselves was starting to recognize that he was being resented in his own home. And you think maybe your kids didn't start to act on that because your biological kids don't take cues from you? These disgusting people deserve to never adopt again. And I'm just appalled and disgusted thoroughly, but there's so much I could say, but I think I've said a lot. This Myka Stauffer lady, I mean, she's the epitome of what I was talking about. I thought the other lady was bad, getting brands with Walmart over doing natural black hair and millions of views and hundreds of thousands of subscribers, but Myka takes the cake. Myka and her husband take the goddamn cake. Fuck those people. Fuck all these people, dude. When it comes to transracial adoption, it's a case-by-case basis, and they're all out here acting suspect. I heard about Madonna, and I guess, we gotta let her kids try and live, but goddamn, dude, she's a piece of fucking work, too. I could rant about this shit for days, but I told y'all. I told you. But a bunch of people just didn't want to hear it because they're fans. They are fans, and they think you're being mean. They think you're just a mean old bully adopted kid. You're to bully the parents as though they haven't had the power over your life for years, sometimes decades, 2 decades almost. All right, that's my kids knocking on the door, so I will see you next time, and may your ancestors and spirit guides be with you at every crossroads. Thanks for watching.